Today is going to be a great day. I am Nikki G, your host. Welcome to the Lone Doctrine, the food for thought exploration station, and your place in making today better than yesterday. So, as I close out this month talking about honesty, I'd like to share with you this new perspective I found in my food for thought explorations by Zen Habits called the universal narrative when you feel unworthy, which can be the very root of why we tend to avoid honesty on a multitude of levels. Whether we realize it or not, sometimes we quickly build a wall or a fort or a comfort zone to protect us from our past. But the problem is most of the time it's hurting our future. So let's explore. A little boy was told by his father from a young age that he wasn't good enough. Not in so many words, but through his actions, by criticizing him, yelling at him, hitting him, leaving him. The boy grew up into a man, knowing that he was unworthy of praise, of success, of love. The boy, as an adult, got a job, but didn't really think he was good enough to do the job well. He faked it, deathly afraid every single day that he would be found out and mocked, then fired. He tried to hide, not to put himself in the spotlight, because then maybe no one would see his unworthiness. But he was always deathly afraid of people seeing him fail. So he held himself back, careful not to do anything where he might fail. He put off taking on tough tasks and formed a long habit of procrastination. This came to rule his life, affecting his health habits, financial habits, and relationships. The boy, now that he was an adult, got into a couple of long-term relationships, hoping to find someone to make him happy. He didn't believe he could make them happy or get them to love the true him, because he had already known he was unworthy of love. But maybe if he was really nice to them and only showed them the good parts of him, they'd think he was lovable. So he never tried to be truly honest. Never found true intimacy, because he could only show them certain parts that might win him love. And he was always ready for them to find out how bad he was, to leave him. In fact, he left them before that could happen. Or if he didn't leave them, he was only halfway in the relationship, 1 foot out the door, ready to leave, only partway committed. And in truth, they always felt that and craved his full commitment. This was true of every friendship, every professional relationship. He was never fully committed, never fully honest, because he couldn't show his true self. Always anxious that others might know how unworthy he was. Always trying to prove how worthy he was, even if he knew he wasn't. This is the story of unworthiness, and it's fairly universal. This is one of the most longest running inner narratives, that we are not good enough, that somehow we're unworthy to teach, to write books, to train people, that somehow we're unworthy. As I've worked with thousands of people in changing their lives, I found this one to be the most common inner narrative there is. We're unworthy of praise, of putting our work out there in the world, of leading a team or community, of creating something meaningful in the world. We're unworthy of success, of happiness, of peace, of financial comfort, of loving relationships. We're unworthy of love. We're not good enough to tackle our toughest struggles, to change our addictions or old habits, to change our diet, to start exercising, to start meditating, or to stick to any of these for very long. We're not good enough to put our writing into art out in public. We're not good enough for others to recognize our accomplishments. Not good enough to write a book, start a podcast, put videos online, start an online business, start a nonprofit, create a thriving entrepreneurial empire, launch a startup, teach ourselves a really hard skill, pursue a lifelong dream. We're not good enough and we're unworthy. That's a lot. Here's the thing. It's all just a story, isn't it? It's a narrative in our heads that we replay over and over until it beats us down into submission. The thoughts aren't true. There's no objective panel of judges in the sky who have judged us unworthy. We just made up this story and we put out evidence to match the narrative. When someone says something remotely critical, we take it to heart and offer it up as yet more proof that we're not good enough. The narrative isn't true, and worse, it hurts us in every single part of our lives. It means we're only half in relationships, hiding ourselves, never honest, never fully committed. It makes us anxious, afraid of failure, never putting ourselves out there. And if we do put ourselves in public, it's a performance trying to prove our worthiness. It holds us back. It makes us procrastinate. It hurts our health and makes us unhappy. This is the universal narrative of unworthiness, and it's not true, and it hurts us deeply. So how do we stop believing this untrue, hurtful story that goes so deep we don't even realize it's there? I'll share 2 ways that have helped unravel the story even when it's still persistent. The first practice is writing out a mantra and repeating it. Stay with me. This is something I use when my unworthiness narrative comes up. So many times we go to do something, to achieve a goal, to create something, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves cleaning the kitchen. So what can we do to bring ourselves back on track? We can try mantras, a little reminder, something that aligns us back with our purpose, like the world craves you and your gift. I repeat this whenever I notice my heart fluttering because I have to give a talk, or I have to make a podcast, or I have to write music, or I have to compose something. The world craves you and your gift. Over and over until I start to believe it. Yes, it sounds incredibly cheesy, but yet it works. I start to look for evidence of it being true rather than it being false. I can't hear the other story so much anymore. And the one being told is the one of purpose and the one of peace of mind. And here's something else to try and practice. Let the story dissolve. I do this all the time and it's absolute magic. Here's how it works. I notice the narrative. I notice how it's making me feel. Makes me feel kind of crappy and fearful and procrastinate, and I want to hide. And then I ask myself, what would I be like if I didn't have this story? This is a magical question. I imagine what it would be like in this very moment if I didn't have that narrative. All of a sudden, I'm completely present in the moment. I notice how my body feels. I notice my surroundings. I notice the sensation in the air and on my skin, the light in the room, and the sounds all around me. All of a sudden, I'm immersed in this moment, free of that negative story. I am free. I am at peace. I can open my heart to the moment, to the beauty of myself. What an incredible gift that is, to just drop that negative story and be completely present in love and with how things are, in love with myself and other people around me. Practicing a new mantra and using this magical question, the boy in the story is gorgeously free of his old narrative and can run wildly through the jungle joyfully and alive. However you identify yourself, you deserve to be running wildly through life, joyfully, healthfully, and alive. I encourage you to just sit with this perspective for a minute or two. I encourage you to go back into the archives and review this month's podcast and just take everything with a grain of salt. You might be saying, really? Yes, really. Find what resonates, what pops up to you, and dig into what works for you. What works for me may not work for you. And that is in part why this is your exploration station. I want to continue to break the narrative in having life be this or that. There's too much to explore, to gain from, to be so boxed in. So that's my small rant, but honestly, ask yourself, can you relate to this perspective, even if there's only one seed of greatness throughout this whole entire podcast? It's worth it. Hold on to it, nurture it, cultivate it, and allow it to move you forward. Just keep stepping. If you found value in the Lone Doctrine, we would be so grateful for your support. We've partnered up with Patreon, which is a place where you can help us stay on air and keep our doors open in supporting our listeners in making today better than yesterday. Thank you so much for your consideration, your support, and a special thank you to our current Patreons who make the Lone Doctrine possible. We hope to see you at patreon.com/Lone Doctrine. patreon.com/Lone Doctrine. If you're someone that likes helping others, we'd love for you to share this episode or our podcast. We hope to keep building a community that can explore all the food for thought life has to offer and continue to lift each other up because together we are better. Thank you for your consideration in supporting the Lone Doctrine at patreon.com/Lone Doctrine, and an awesome extra thank you to our current Patreons because in all honesty, you are the reason this station stays online and we love you. And remember, keep fighting the good fight.
It's a great day.